All right. This is Jeff Townsend. You are about to experience another experience, an experience of the Bill DeMott Experience, which is everybody's experience. I just said it. I'm Jeff Townsend. Joining me is my friend Bill DeMott. How many more times can I say experience?
2 more times. We have a quota now.
I don't know. I felt pretty good with the amount I just rumbled off there. So I've got the glasses on like you tonight, Bill. My old age is finally getting to me. My eyes are getting old.
Listen, I believe that glasses are a necessity. I don't like them. Now I'm just so used to them. Even when I don't have them on, and I know most people can't see me, but I'm always fixing my glass. Even when they're not on, I'm always pushing my glasses up. So
That's
I tend
funny.
to poke myself in the nose a lot.
Have you always wore glasses or?
No. It's I think at that ripe old age of, I'm going to guess and say about 37. Okay. I started to wear glasses, something like that.
Because even in, did you wear contacts too?
No. You can't put these fingers in someone else's eye and not get charged with a misdemeanor.
Well, even in your own without being charged.
I can't. Yeah, it's not a good idea for me to put things in my eye.
Because even on Tough Enough and stuff from the new one, well, I say new, but hell, it's been 12 years. You still didn't, I don't remember seeing glasses on there, but the Performance Center, I do remember you starting to roll out some glasses more. So
yeah, in the ring, 90% of the time, I never had my glasses with me because I can see well. I can't read, that kind of stuff. So I always just keep them on. And like driving, I don't necessarily need them, but I just keep them on now. Now it's like one of those things.
It's my left eye. My left eye can't see far away, right? And it started to mess with my right eye because your eyes try to accommodate, of course.
Yep.
So I've had glasses for years, but the problem is I can take them off. So I do. I've never done contacts, but the fact that I can take them off is too tempting, and I end up taking them off way too much. You know what I mean?
More times than you should, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anyway, man, so we didn't get a touch up last week. Yeah, I don't even remember what. So many things happened in my podcasting life last week. I can't remember why you and I didn't record. I know that I didn't, like I told you before we started recording, for the first time in years, I didn't record a single podcast thing last week.
And that threw your whole thing off, didn't it?
That's why I said to you, I feel like I haven't talked to you in months because I haven't recorded anything. So it's weird. But we tried again on Monday to link up. We wanted to talk SummerSlam right after it, get it up that week. And you had it was your turn to have electricity issues. And here we are tonight.
I don't understand here in Florida, all the wires and cable and everything's underground. So I'm always baffled by, growing up in the Northeast, you saw the telephone wires and all these things are up and
everywhere. Yeah.
But it shouldn't be affected. So we've had the weather that's been like 115 degrees every day for the past 3 weeks or whatever it is. So talking with one of my buddies who works for the county, I think it was one of those Duke Energy, their things kind of went boom.
Duke Energy.
And it set off the whole chain of reaction. So Spectrum went down, Duke Energy stuff went down, and I was like, what I literally told you like 5 minutes before it's supposed to start, I'm like, hey, the only thing working is my phone. And trust me, I ran that phone to dead. So, but
yeah, Duke Energy has a bad image here for whatever.
Do they run all the way up by you as well?
Oh yeah, hell yeah! Evidently, they're everywhere, right?
I have no clue. I didn't know Spectrum was all over the country either. So
Duke Energy is not my city, but it is in the counties surrounding. So it's not the only thing here, but it's certainly, I see a lot of, when it goes out, it seems like it goes out. So
yeah, when it goes out, you're in for the long haul.
So here we had a lot of rain. We had a lot of rain yesterday, which Tuesday I went to an Indianapolis Indians game. So I was happy to get a baseball game. It nice. Isn't it funny when you're at a baseball game and it starts to barely rain and everybody just gets up and leaves?
Well,
It's like, I'm just sitting around like, Everybody's leaving.
Yeah,
It rained for 5 minutes. It quit raining and everything was perfect. And
where you going? Yeah.
They give up fast though in baseball, man. They don't mess around. So
this generation, though, I like, and I say this generation.
It was the old people, even Bill.
Well, when we were kids, like if it rained, I mean, you had to tell us to leave. We weren't leaving, whether we were playing the sport or watching the sport. We weren't leaving because it rained, or even now. I know the big lightning thing, but even then, we didn't leave the seats or the stadiums or whatever. And now it's like 2 sprinkles, boom.
So yesterday I was debating tomorrow. I got to go Tuesday or Wednesday. So Tuesday is the right call because yesterday, substantial downpours, flood warnings, baseball game rained out. Obviously they're doing a doubleheader today, but anyways, I got me a good baseball game in before the insane amount of rain yesterday. So
the calm before the storm.
So who's your baseball team?
I'm a Yankees guy.
You're Yankee. Okay, well, I figured. I knew that from listening to previous Bill DeMott Experience.
I'm a Yankees guy. My boys are Cubs. Cubs are his team.
Big here, obviously.
Yes.
I'm a Pirates guy only because I'm an Indians guy, and they're the AAA team for the Indianapolis is the AAA team for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So
right.
I actually started backwards, right? Like you go to these minor league games as a kid, they're nice. And it's like, hey, well, I'm going to support the organization that's how it's happened with me. It's kind of backwards, right?
Right.
But anyways, yeah, Cubs huge around here, man. Cubs and Cardinals are and a few White Sox sprinkled in, obviously, but yeah, big Cubs and Cardinals area, what I hear about here. So I'm kind of an odd duckling.
The only reason he'll watch a Yankee game with me is because Rizzo's now on the Yankees. That's the only way he watches a Yankees game. Otherwise, he's a Cubs through and through.
Yeah, he fit in here. A lot of Cubs people here. Obviously, we're 3 hours tops from there. So
yeah.
Anyway, man, the foundation. How's it going this week? You've been running around, or you have a down week?
Yeah, we've been, and that's why we weren't on last week. I remember we talked, and I was so, lack of a better term, so bogged down. We've been so busy. This summer's been our busiest summer. Usually when schools are out, our presentations get a little lower in numbers and things like that. And so we figured out last week, just this summer, I've driven 9,200 miles. And been in front of over 7,500 people.
Oh wow!
So we've been going and going and going, which is great. The message is out there. I would say the message and the mission are the biggest thing. So we just realized how busy we've been, and this week's been really busy for us. And then Saturday, I have another. I'm speaking to a softball academy actually. That has their big camp down here in Florida, and I'll be speaking with all those young ladies and the coaches and the administration. But we've been busy. I always say blessed to be that busy. But things are going well. It's just, like everything else, when it catches up to you, like, woof, holy cow, take 2 seconds to digest it all. But everything's going good, man.
The cool thing about our foundation.
Yeah, you're part of it, brother.
Everybody's part of it. And I think that's what's the cool thing about it. So you're talking to and I think that's what's so cool about the foundation, obviously tragic, but I mean, you're talking to a softball team, like the DARE program and Just Say No were big.
Yeah.
When I was young, and they went around to schools and all that, but it kind of seems mundane, right? Like when it becomes what appears to be more than the message, right? It feels, and that's just an opinion of mine. It kind of loses that touch and feeling, but it's amazing how the foundation can go, and it really translates to so many other things. If when you really think about it, it's beyond automobiles, it's beyond drunk driving. It contributes to more ways than one in life, I guess is what I'm saying. And that's what makes it special in my eyes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And it started with talking to the young people, realizing that there's a lot more going on in the world. And I think what's really cool is that they appreciate someone listening to them at the end. So we just talk about all kinds of decisions, you know. And when you get to talk to athletes, you remind them that what they're doing now is going to follow them into their, you know, what they want to do in the future, and how everything they do and say now is going to follow them. So it all really ties back into it. And at the end of the day, we introduce Carrie and share her story, and it's just one of those things where it translates to so many different areas, you know. When we work at law enforcement, or we go speak at church youth groups, and it just, you know, and I think that's what's starting to get realized around as we go and the foundation continues to, you know, move forward. I think that's what's happening. And like I said, it's a busy summer, but well worth the travel and the time put in. And look at school started here today. So we're, you know, as things pick up here in the Southeast, it's really going to take off now.
Yeah, school started here yesterday. I did the back to school night the day before, and it's crazy. Time this summer's gone by so fast.
Yeah.
In fact, you and I we started talking before Christmas, and it's crazy to think about that. I remember we pitched some ideas around, and we said, "Hey, let's jump on a call after the holidays." And it's crazy to think, it's like we started talking about doing this 9 months ago. We've been doing it for over 6 months now. So yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. I would have never thought that. Holy cow.
Because our whole thing was let's enjoy our family time. Let's get through the holidays.
Yeah.
Let's hop on a call. Let's lay this all out, and then let's do it.
I can't believe it's been 6 months.
The podcast has been out over 6 months. Yep.
And you're still talking to me. This is amazing.
Well, I mean, it's cool because I get to share your old stuff too. So we shared an episode with Mickey James and Nick, obviously. Big fans. I'm still trying to get Mickey James to do a dang podcast, man. She has her podcast with the ladies. That's great. That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get her to do a wrestling podcast though, man. I'm not having any luck. She's a busy lady though. So, but no, that was a cool episode. And you know, for me, like, maybe I'm a hopeless romantic or something, Bill, because when I watched this episode, because I'm editing it, right? This old episode, I'm enhancing it. And just the way those two look at each other, it's like, my gosh, they love each other, man.
Yeah.
And not only that, just how amazing they both are, but just to see the way Mickey James looks at Nick and back and forwards, and the amount of love and respect they have for each other and the things they've accomplished. It was super cool to share that episode. I think I'll say it. Mickey James is my favorite, one of my favorite wrestlers, but my favorite female wrestler, just because to me, like, everybody loved Trish, and I love Trish, right?
Yep.
But in my fandom, being at that time around high school, right? So she comes in, has this rival with Trish. For me, I was like, God, this girl's awesome.
Yeah.
So my favorite, man, I'll just say that. And I think Nick, obviously very underrated, and I think he's really good. And it's like, I want to see my glasses are all crooked. Sorry. I want to see a good run with him in something like, the guy should be in WWE, man.
Yeah. Well, so from what I understand, he's now producing.
That's what I've heard.
Right. So, you know, so I know that's going to work out because his mind is good and the things he brings to the table. But back to your point of those two young people are awesome. They're awesome to know. They're awesome to sit down with and talk. And you're right. They have this relationship. I love to watch them banter because they're very funny together, but it's a very like they're great. They're great for each other. They're just good people. And I think a lot of people,
it was crazy. Point, their son was 1 when they were recording this.
And now he's 10.
They were like, his first birthday party's coming up. I was like, whoa.
I remember when
it made me realize how fast my kids are growing up.
My boy was younger, and he was on the floor in the wrestling school on the mats with him crawling around. And now, you know, look at both those kids, but it's just unbelievable how fast time goes by and just good
Sorry
people.
To cut you off. Have you seen Mickey's? Okay. So they're talking about the teaming up and doing the instructional thing for wrestling. Did you see her work recently with the masterclass stuff that she did? Did you see that video package?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't see it. I heard it was amazing.
Yeah, I'll have to send you the video package. It was really neat. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
She's great. And to your point, we need to get her on because people need to get to know like the real Mickey James. Like they know the entertaining part, the sports entertaining, and she does her thing with the women. But if you get her talking and get her going, one, she's funny as all get out, but her knowledge and of this business and the world, because now let's not forget she's a top recording star. So she's amazing. Nick is running his supplement company and everything else. They're just two good people doing good stuff, and I'm super happy for them. And they're aces in my book all day long.
It's cool to, like I said, it's cool to go back and hear and even like how you've changed in the last, I guess they're 8 years old, right? 2015.
Yeah.
It just how much everybody's changed, but yet obviously some things stay the same, but how much has gone on through everybody's lives in this amount of time. It's fascinating.
Crazy journeys.
Hey, but we won't hold the people up too much longer. We will get to the content here. I just wanted to mention that because I thought that was a really cool conversation.
Awesome.
So we got to wrap up this U.S. title thing, Bill. We've been talking this SOB through. This is a 5-parter. We want to get to some SummerSlam stuff, even though we apologize. It's coming to you a little bit after the fact, but maybe we can split it up and I can work on getting the SummerSlam stuff out faster or something. I'll figure it out. So we left off on the title reign of the United States Championship. Our closing two people were in 2010, 2011. We were actually talking about Daniel Bryan and Sheamus. Quite the people to talk about to end that conversation for that part of it. And we'll pick back up here. But we left off talking about, I believe the comment was made that we were really surprised to see some of the people that have made the jump to AEW for whatever reason. Right. We'd be really surprised if Sheamus did that one day.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember that part.
Yeah. I think that's where we jump. I think that's where we left off. So let's go to the title change here. May 1st, 2011. There's a tables match and Kofi Kingston comes out as the champion. We already talked about Kofi Kingston quite a bit on the last one.
Yep.
But he is back in the title picture here and really a guy that you could go to for any match. And he'll do a good job.
Yeah. Kofi is the quintessential professional wrestler. Work with anyone, do anything, make it look and is spectacular.
Yeah.
And really, if you look at his body of work, this is when he really starts to come into his own, though.
Yep. You could argue later on with the WrestleMania moment and all that, but this is when he's starting to come into his own.
Yeah.
And do a great job. So he holds the title for 49 days. Then on June 19th, 2011 at Capital Punishment in Washington, D.C., so something's happened here where there was a brand extension and they kind of said, like we've talked about, the hell with this. Let's stop acknowledging the brand extension.
Right.
And the champion, people are going to show up wherever they want. So that's what happens here. And when that happens, Mr. Dolph Ziggler becomes the next champion on June 19th, like I said, 2011 at Capital Punishment. Oh, man, Dolph Ziggler. Another mainstay that I can't say enough. I mean, I can say so many great things about him. What a career he's had. And when I think of Dolph Ziggler, I just think of one of the best people at selling ever.
Yes.
But he's so much more than that. But his selling is amazing.
Yeah. Highly, highly underrated. Now, somebody's listening to this and going to go, what's he talking about? Underrated. Dolph Ziggler's done this. He's done. We've never seen Dolph Ziggler for a substantial amount of time have the ball. He gets, he gets the third quarter rushes. He does a thing, but Kofi, and it's not funny in a ha-ha way, but a funny thing that we're talking about, Kofi and Dolph back to back. Both of these men are considered two of the best, meaning they can get in the ring with anyone, make every match spectacular, do some great stuff, ultimate sellers, ultimate everything. I don't like these terms, but babyface or heel, just two consummate professionals. always the knock, and I'll say this because I was in the room, I worked behind the scenes. Always the knock was, well, Dolph can make anybody look good, and Dolph will always give us a 5-star match. I would think when you hear that, that's a good thing. But for the powers that be, it was, we know what we're going to get every time.
Yeah.
What more can he do? And so you have this great athlete with the mentality of, I'm going to go out there and give it 100% every night. And it turns out to be a knock on his performances, and that's just me, pulling back the curtain a little bit. But Dolph Ziggler was one of the best. And I think in his whole career, we've never seen him truly get his flowers. Never, because when you see Dolph, you know what you're going to get. And he's hung in there. He's a pro. And after a while, like for me as a man and as a performer, after a while, you probably just want to go, oh, the heck with this, and I'm out of here. But there's another guy. He's a lifer. I mean, he stayed. He has a lot to offer, and I hope that as time progresses, he takes up that role in the back if he can stomach doing that. Because if you're a performer to that level, you want to be performing. You don't want to be coaching and teaching and things like that.
So I often felt like they stretched out the Vicky Guerrero Dolph Ziggler relationship too long. Yeah. It's like they were trying to recapture that edge, literally that edge of Edge and her that was so great. And Dolph and Vicky did a great job there too. It just seemed like it went on a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Probably could have been doing some other better things throughout that, to be honest. I think that kind of bogged down him for a while in the early stages of his career, but certainly still a lot to give and do.
Yeah, always in that role of getting other people over and making things better than what they were. I mean, nobody better than Dolph Ziggler.
He holds the title for 182 days, which is a long time in this modern era of, I say modern era, it's over 10 years ago, but you know what I mean. So after 182 days, the next champion is, you know it, Zack Ryder, December 18th, 2011 at TLC in Baltimore, Maryland.
Woo, woo, woo.
He just had to get himself over, didn't
he? He did it on his own. He did it organically. He had to show he had talent outside of what.
But he had talent. Why do you have to show that? Is he just a victim of the system or what, Bill?
It's a different mindset. It's something that if it goes back to the believability, right? So always the old adage is, have you ever been in a bar fight? Right? That's the adage. Like that used to be the level of who's a man's man. Didn't ask if you ever won one, just if you've ever been in one. And so the thought was, this cat has never been in a real fight. And it comes across that way. I just think that Matt or Zack Ryder, one, is still doing amazing things, but he had to go prove himself, his worth. And he did that on his time off and when he wasn't being used and all these things. And so here he is. He's back. Is this the time when he's with Eve? Is this when all this is coming about?
That's a great question. I'm not 100% sure, actually. That's an excellent question.
But, Zack had to prove that he was a man's man.
Yeah. Yep. Big Zack Ryder fan. WWE would try to take his content from him whenever they could. Of course, This is a situation where I feel like he didn't necessarily take advantage of a platform. He made the platform, right? We talk about that. We actually talked about this months ago. How much right does WWE have in the stuff that you're doing when they give you that stage? Well, in his case, he's like, hey, I'm not being used, so I'm going to do my own thing. And so it was kind of like almost the opposite of the conversation we had previously.
Yeah, and he showed, and then it was, Zack Ryder at the time was still considered a mid-card guy, and anything he does isn't going to be relevant and all this, and he blew up, dude. Every sports entertainment professional wrestler should be sending Zack a check every quarter for what they're allowed to do and what they do now on YouTube and everything else, because he set the tone and really made the blueprint for it. So he's highly
excellent point.
We're going to talk about a lot of guys in this episode here that are highly underrated.
Excellent point, Bill. Talk about the Twitch and all the different things that happen now, the podcast, everything. Zack Ryder was ahead of the curve. That's an absolutely fantastic point.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, he only holds the title for 29 days. Then he's defeated by Jack Swagger on Monday Night Raw on January 16th, 2012, Anaheim, California. Mr. Swagger.
Monster.
Oh, yeah.
If you have to see him in person to appreciate really the size, because on TV he looks great. He's tall. He's a thick kid, but you don't appreciate it because he looks very lengthy, right? He's a thick cat, and he's the real
collegiate
deal.
Wrestler and football player.
Oh yeah, he's an All-American all the way around, and he is still the real deal. But this was his time. This is when they were going to start seeing, okay, what do we got? What do we got in this kid? So you're starting to see all these younger talents get involved in the picture now.
49-day title reign. Then the next champion is Santino Marella, March 5th, 2012, Raw in Boston, Massachusetts. Boston.
Mr. Entertainment.
Dude.
Forget
how much of that is it's improv, right? Like he's just, how do you not crack up when he's doing those things?
The best thing they have on Santino of all of his work is when they do the clips of making everybody break out of character.
Yeah.
He was amazing because, first of all, he can go. He's an athlete.
Oh, yeah.
He's the real, he can go. But he's like, I compare him to Eugene and Nick Dinsmore. What they know and what they did are two different things, right? So people don't, I don't know if he can wrestle or can do. Yeah. Santino's the real deal. Super entertaining. And gave a little bit of levity to the U.S. Championship a little bit. Brought some entertainment factor into it.
Yeah. And it all has to match up with what's going on with other storylines, what they need from him, what they need from that. Obviously, one of the more epic debuts as far as winning the Intercontinental title, and just his ability to work with anybody is very impressive. And I believe he is now has a new position with Impact Wrestling as of recently.
Yeah. He's, I think he comes out. He's the on-screen JJ Dillon, but I think behind the scenes he's in the creative side or the office side of it as well. He's getting we're taught if you've been in this business for any amount of time and been good at what you do, then your knowledge is necessary. And it's good to see Santino back in that mix and doing his thing. People are going to benefit from that.
I agree. That's a good pickup for Impact. 167-day title reign at a SummerSlam pre-show on August 19th, 2012. Antonio Cesaro is the next champion. Let me just say, I'm very high on this guy. I'm not going to lie. I love the guy.
On Cesaro?
Yeah.
Cesaro? Yeah, go ahead.
So disappointed with how many times he was just right there in WWE, and they just, for whatever reason, would not pull the trigger and just let it play out and see what happens.
They have to, they being WWE, WWF, whatever we're going to call them at the time. If you're not homegrown talent, you have to go through the cycle, right? You have to go through it's like a Disney ride. You have to go up and down the aisle till you get to the ride. And a lot of times that takes the steam out of some people's sails. But Claudio came to us in Deep South in 2005.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking about Claudio when he had the long hair and he was amazing. Yep. And we passed. Now, who came in that class? It was Claudio, TJ, and Natty all came in at the same time, came to me in Atlanta. And we passed on Claudio. Been a big fan of his ever since. Watched his stuff. And there's a guy who had all the tools, but they didn't think that he was entertaining. Not everybody has to be a Santino Marella, right? Not everybody has to be
That's the thing I hear, and it's like kind of like Bret Hart, right? Like Bret Hart didn't need to go up there and sing and dance.
Right.
That wasn't what was needed from Bret Hart at any point in time.
Right. But
not everybody has to do that.
But they have to. You have to go through the cues, right, to get to the ride. And okay, let's try this, and let's do that, and let's do this. I thought he was very entertaining with Sheamus when they were together, and
the bar.
But Sheamus had to learn to become entertaining, right? We all had to learn to become entertaining. There had to be another facet to what we did. But if you weren't a homegrown talent, it seemed like expectations were less for you, right? It was less effort put into giving you those opportunities, in my opinion.
Post deep, we just talked about him being there, Deep South. You go post that amazing stuff in Ring of Honor.
Yep.
As we've talked before, I watch Ring of Honor regularly. I mean, all the time then. And so I'm very in tune with him and others that were around that time period. And the thing about me is once he gets to WWE, he does grind it out for a long time. Yeah. And this title reign of his is actually, let's see here, it's a substantial amount of time, if I remember. It was, so 240 days. So I compare this title reign that he had back then kind of to what they're trying to do with Austin Theory now.
I agree.
They put it on him. They wrote it out. He did a bunch of different storylines. Always has a good match, right? He's not going to have a bad match.
Right.
And it just didn't pan out to that afterwards. So then later on, he goes to this, he goes to that. Then he goes to with Sheamus and and then on his last run there in the closing years, I guess it was only a few years ago, really, he is so close to it. It feels like WWE can feel it and it just doesn't happen. But he once again is one of the people that has, and good for him, bets on himself, gets out of there.
Yeah.
And now the Combat Club's okay, but I like seeing him kind of doing his own thing, being that badass, because he is gotta be one of the strongest guys pound for pound. Is that just people always say that about him? That's true, right?
I've watched him train. I've watched him work out. He is a guru. He knows the body like no one else. He is pound for pound the strongest man. Pound for pound. I'm going to put him against Brock Lesnar. Pound for pound, the strongest cat in the locker room. And I agree with you. I really wanted to see him come way out of his shell and do his thing with AEW. And I feel like he's in that same, that's a whole different, conversation. But we really missed the boat on it. But he held on for as long as he could in WWE until he knew, time after time, he knew in his heart it wasn't going anywhere.
After it didn't that last time, don't blame him. To me, that felt like the end too. This is his, and it didn't have to be. He could still be there now having good matches.
Right.
But as far as being that breakout, it felt like it was time.
Yeah.
During COVID, all that, it just didn't happen, unfortunately. So close, though.
Let's not forget, though, we're talking about these title reigns. And let's remember that at that time, we were on the road 5 days a week, too. So it wasn't just TV being defended. They were defending this title and having these matches Thursday through Sunday. You know what I mean? So it's a whole different, it's a little bit, the schedule's a lot easier now for the guys and gals like, Austin, who's doing a great job, Theory, but he's not going out there for 250 days straight like Claudio was doing it, So it's changed a little bit, but I want just give everybody the context of back what we're talking about in these years. This was like full time on. And if you were a champion, you were doing media. So you were at 7 days a week for that 249 days.
Who was the gal he was with? Oh,
Sarah Amato.
What was her on-screen name?
Sarah Del Rey.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but no, I'm talking about somebody different here.
Oh.
Wasn't it the gal that was with Teddy Long in the storyline? Wasn't she with Cesaro for a while? Her name started with an A. Maybe. I don't know.
Escapes me. I don't remember ever Cesaro being with a girl on screen.
And he would always talk in all different languages around this time. That was like the big selling point. He can speak in 5 different fluent in 5 different languages. Yeah. I feel bad when I forget people's name. It drives me freaking nuts.
Now I'm going to be up all night trying to think of this now.
Yeah, I'm going to look real quick, see if I can find it, because it's going to drive me absolutely nuts if I can't. I'm not going to lie to you. Let's see here. Right into WWE.
But yeah, the fact that he spoke 5 different languages, it never got used as a tool for him.
Okay, it was she was Lithuanian. Her Aksana. How do you say that? Skana?
Oh,
I'm butchering it. Why can't I pronounce it?
Oh my gosh, she was the best.
Remember that? You know what I'm talking about now?
Yes, she came from FCW. Watch this. Hey Lacey, who was the girl?
FCW. Yep.
One of my favorite girls.
Skana.
She dyed her hair black. She had the accent.
Yeah, used to be a bodybuilder.
She was
oh my gosh, I can't think.
You're fired too. I'm not talking to you anymore.
Who is it? Who's helping out? Who's contributing?
Lacey. She remembers everybody's name.
Hold on.
Now she's running around the house trying to figure it out.
Well, anyway, I spelled it
amazing.
I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Aksan. Is that what it was?
Oksana.
I don't know, but Oksana. Yep.
What an athlete. Another one. 3 different languages. Had and just they didn't feel it was going anywhere.
I just had to take you down memory road to remembered her being with him on that role there.
Yep. Now I remember it. Yep.
Okay, so 240 days as champion's legitimate. He drops the title to Kofi Kingston in Greensville, South Carolina at Monday Night Raw on the 15th of April. We're in 2013 now, by the way, because he held the title so long. This is only a 1-month title reign for Kofi Kingston. Then Dean Ambrose gets the title Extreme Rules on May 19th, 2013. Yeah. This is kind of that lunatic fringe, loose cannon.
Right.
Dean Ambrose coming out.
And it's all the younger cats now getting the opportunities to take these championships and run with them and make something happen with them.
Yeah, for sure. And it also, we've talked about this with this kind of the building the strength of a faction. And that's what this was with the Shield. So you have tag team champions, you have United States champion. We're building up. We're once again using this title. And the title didn't always get used very great as far as I'm going to defend the U.S. title all the time. He's on the road. He's doing it. Television-wise, though, the purpose of the title at this point in time is let's legitimize the Shield even more.
Yeah, it's just they're champions. It's not that they're, like you said, they're not defending them on the night. These 3 men are now 3 champions. And that was the premise of the title at this time with all of these guys, is to prove that they are champions and they, they're, here come the finger quotes, important now, right? They're players in the game.
Yeah. So, and this is where he has some claim to fame here is pretty legitimate. Longest reigning champion in modern era, 351 days with this baby.
Yeah.
I think one of the jokes where he didn't defend it very much, but I'm sure he did on live shows, but he is champion for like a year, man.
But isn't it funny how people at certain times won't go to hey, you're supposed to defend that every 30 days. And then sometimes everybody's nitpicking that. Who cares if they do that? This was one.
How would you know if they did? If they did it at a house show? I mean,
right.
You know what I mean? A lot of things happen at those house shows, man. It's just,
yeah.
Or they did, I guess, as we said. So 351 days. Obviously, Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, as we know now. He actually has a book out that was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It's called Mox, but yeah, he's another guy. Read? It's a good read, and it's just as if he wrote it. That's what makes it better. There's actually a few there's like some errors in it, and it's like, this is awesome. It's literally like John Moxley wrote it, and the publishers just published it as if he wrote it, like as
The way
as
he
is,
wrote it.
which is amazing.
Right.
And I was really high on Dean Ambrose. I liked his time as champion. I really was high on him. Now he's just kind of transformed, and I still really like him, but it's just the matches I'm trying to grasp and find meaning to them now. But that's a problem across pro wrestling in particular, I mean, especially AEW. But super talented guy, man, that bet on himself and nice long-term contract with AEW, and the matches he's had there as champion, even really the face of the company for their company for quite a while. When you CM Punk in and out with injuries, Moxley's been a mainstay. The Elite injured, out, etc. This guy and the Darby Allins of the world, and people of them have really held down the fort amazing.
Yeah, but and this whole group of guys that we're talking about now, they've all, like, you look at the ones that we've talked about that have moved away from WWE. And so you almost, like, for me, and I know we're talking about the U.S. Championship and all that, but you almost wonder what's kept Kofi and Dolph there so long. Naturally, Kofi kept betting on himself and then became, fast forward to the New Day and all that stuff. But what, certain guys that have been seasoned before they got to the company knew there was a certain time, like, nothing's going to happen for me here. And it always comes back to this. They were making a great deal of money. They were making a good living, but it's not what they signed up for. And you can only take that for so long. So it's just another side note for me. My mind takes me somewhere, but I'm listening to all the names and thinking about all these cats that we're talking about. And it's such a talented pool of people. And you just wonder, right down the rabbit hole, we can always wonder, why wasn't there more going on? But that's, it's just a side note. But I'm listening to Kofi and Dolph and, Ambrose and Cesaro and all these names, Santino and all these. I'm going, holy cow, what a group.
Yeah, it's like with John Moxley. It's like, I want to get something more out of this experience than what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And good for him. I mean, really, but still, the Shield's got to be one of the greatest factions of all time, man.
Of all time.
No one can argue that, really. I mean, can somebody really make an argument for me that they're not top 10? No. You want to get to top 5, top 3, for best ever, whatever, sure. But they're one of the best factions ever, and the stuff they did was amazing.
Right.
And you always hear that CM Punk handpicked Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, to try to come up and because they came in as that original storyline mixed in with him, but to try to get them on. And I think obviously independent scene, they were big players in the independent scene too. So, a big John Moxley fan. I'm glad that he seems to be happy with the work that he's doing. People can shit on it all they want, but quite frankly, he seems to be very proud of the work he's doing.
And that's, I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. Like, you're always going to have the armchair quarterbacks. You're always going to have the criticizers. You're always going to have the people go, well, this and that, and I'm with you. I don't necessarily follow a lot of his, I see his matches. I'm not storyline wise, no. But this is what he's doing. And if he's happy doing it and people are still coming to see him do it, run with it, man. Run with it and enjoy. That's the thing that's still missing is people don't enjoy what they do. They're just doing it now. They're going through the motions. And Mox doesn't do that. He lives it and walks it the same way. So
exactly. No, I'm with you 100% on that for sure. We'll speed it up a little bit here, but not too fast. Okay, so Sheamus, after 351 days of Dean Ambrose, which congratulations, that's amazing. Sheamus is the next champion on May 5th, 2014. He won it in a battle royal, which saw him eliminate Dean Ambrose last. He holds the title for 182 days, defeated by Rusev on November 3rd, 2014, on Raw backstage in Buffalo, New York. This is when we're really pushing Rusev.
Yeah. And again, how do you have to have someone that's, lack of a better term, relevant to beat, right? So who better to beat at that time, especially even now, than Sheamus, right? If you get a win over Sheamus, you're made. And Rusev was the next big thing. So
Yeah. Coming in with the Putin talk and with Lana. Yeah, had a good run, man. And we'll get, and I'm sure one day we'll talk about it later, but another guy who, along with him, and he really had to reinvent himself and kind of have another run at it in WWE, and he did.
yeah.
But yeah, so he's the champion. We're really building Rusev up at this point in time. He gets into this rival with John Cena. Okay. So after 146 days of being the champion at WrestleMania 31, this is in California in 2015, March, John Cena defeats him, right? I remember this match. They had a good little rival. They got a couple months out of it. So John Cena is the next champion, and Bill, he's the working champion. Do you remember this? Defending the title every week.
Yeah.
Theme comeback. It hadn't really been talked about or executed like that. But at this point, John Cena gets the title again, and he's doing that. Do you remember this time period?
Yeah. And this was the first go around for him to do that, because I think he comes back around and does it again at a later date. But this was John proving not only that this title, the U.S. Championship, meant something, but I think it kind of goes from behind the scenes of, we really haven't been using it as much in storylines and things like that. So who better? Cena comes out, puts it on, and every week he's out there defending the championship.
Yep. And this was that time period you're thinking of. We're just getting old and we're getting things. This is the time, though. So
this is
2015. Think about it. That makes sense. He gets into this rival with Seth Rollins.
Yep.
So they have a setup here. We're going to go into SummerSlam later that year. Winner takes all match, in which Rollins defended the World Heavyweight title. He comes away with the championship. Was this around the time when he gave that absolute gnarly knee to Cena's face? I don't remember that. Shattered his nose.
Yeah, I think this is the time period.
So he's going to drop it to Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. It's a winner takes all. After 28 days, Night of Champion rolls around. John Cena is victorious over Seth Rollins. 35-day title reign at this point in time. Then Mr. Alberto Del Rio, and what is kind of a comeback of his, I believe, is actually when he came back, is the champion. He gets up the title at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, and again, I think we go from now you have to make. We've gone through a bunch of the men. The title's kind of a showpiece, as we're talking about when Ambrose and the Shield, everybody had a championship. Now Cena's legitimized the importance of it again. So by the time it gets to Alberto, it means something to be the United States champion, and this is where his best work's being done.
It's his comeback here. He had a reign, champion and all that, but he is very talented. And WWE really got a score by bringing him in because of what he was doing in the scene in Mexico.
Yep.
And just a really good pickup for business and talent-wise. Guy looks like $1 million. He wrestles like $1 million. Sounds like he obviously had a lot of issues personally in WWE, but man, great pickup for them around these couple of years here.
Yeah, because he wasn't.
It felt like talent was not that talent was low, but he came in at the right time and kind of went into the gaps that they needed him to.
Yeah, he wasn't your quintessential luchador, right? Everybody who comes out of Mexico and all the with the masks and all this, they're a certain stature, and here comes this 6'3", tank. I mean, he's so well built and he's athletic and he can talk and he had charisma and all these things. And you're right, he fit what was needed at that time and really, really took off there.
Yeah. Did some great work. I've seen a lot of old matches of his and really talented guy. Okay, so 79-day title reign here on the first time. Him and Kalisto go have this rival that kicks off here. So Kalisto wins the title on Raw on January 11th, 2016 in New Orleans. It's a 1-day title reign. 3 days if you count the SmackDown wasn't live then. So Alberto Del Rio gets it back in Lafayette, Louisiana on SmackDown, the next taping, basically. I guess you could say it was the next day.
Yep.
And then he holds it for not even 2 weeks. Then at the Royal Rumble rolls around, Kalisto picks up the title and he goes on a 120-day reign here. They really, okay, so the Sin Cara push, let's be honest, did not work.
Did not work for whatever. We've talked about that on previous episode. I don't remember which episode. Hell of a talented guy. Sin Cara didn't translate to WWE for whatever. We've even talked about how they took his name and everything from him. Did not work. So this is like and they had a lot of plans, right? Like we have Sin Cara, we have Rey Mysterio. We're going to have a mask match at WrestleMania. They had these plans we hear about. Let's get the most mask on people ever in one building, right? We heard all these things behind the scenes. Yeah.
And this is kind of like our, like a more of a WWE form of a success story of Sin Cara. Seems like he fit into the system better. You always talk about the process, the system, and being a part of it. It seemed like Kalisto was more successful at that.
And one, he wasn't, what's the word for Manny? He wasn't jaded, right? He wanted to be there. His independent work and everything, which was good, but it wasn't enough for him to stand on a mountain and go, I'm this guy. So he was open to suggestion. He was open to direction, and everybody loved working with him. And his energy was crazy contagious, and he just really, but he came up from the system, from the development.
2 years NXT.
Yeah.
It's dragging the tag team, right?
Yeah.
He went through the system. I guess that's what I'm saying. He fit the bill better. And I'm not trying to say they were trying to replicate a Sin Cara, but as far as a luchador wrestler, he came up through the system and it worked out better, is what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely. And there's another guy that I would have loved to see more longevity from.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
fortunately, when Cuts came around a few years after this, they let him go. It's unfortunate. He could still be doing stuff there now. And they've kind of rolled out some new things, and he could be fitting right in with it.
It's funny to watch now because some of the things they're doing now, they were doing, but at the time they didn't think that was the direction. And it's always funny that how you go, well, that really did work. Okay, hopefully we have someone to put in that role now and do that. So these guys were all pioneers in that way. They all did it and made it work, and it just takes a different set of eyes and a different era to see that, just a couple years down the road difference.
Yeah, like I said, budget time came around, didn't make the cut, COVID, whatnot. We don't go down that rabbit hole right now, but he definitely feel like he could be tearing up NXT right now.
Yeah, and he's working with someone now. Is it Impact?
Well, he actually made one. I remember him being on an episode of Dynamite.
Yeah,
I don't know of him being in Impact though. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That's the one. I don't have that channel. I have to really go out of my way to watch those. I try. I watch the old Impact all the time, but
I feel like he's doing something, and I thought it was with Impact. It could be NWA. I'm not sure.
This year, I know he showed back up in DDT Pro Wrestling. I just don't know what else he's doing, but hopefully he's doing well for sure.
Great guy.
WWE guy for sure. 8 years is a good run. Next champion's Rusev again. So Kalisto has a 120-day reign. Rusev gets the title at Extreme Rules May 22nd, 2016. The brand extension returned, and the title became an exclusive to Raw. This title's been all the titles are, but this title in particular has been huge. It's constantly being swapped here with the brand extension.
Yeah, because it's back to that. If we go back a couple episodes in this conversation, to me, it's back to being just passed around, right? It's just somebody has to have it, and at least if they have it, they're important right now. And I don't mean it's not against the performers. It's just the United States title at times just didn't mean anything. And I feel like they built it up again, and now it's on that thing, especially with this brand extensions and anybody can come and get it. It's like, okay, to me, this was the creation of the 24/7 deal. So anybody, anytime, anywhere could be U.S. champion.
126-day title reign by Rusev here, and I was at this next event, Clash of Champions, 2016, September 25th, Indianapolis, Indiana. Roman Reigns picks up the win. He is the next champion. Isn't it crazy to think we're going to get into SummerSlam a little bit? Might be a little bit longer on the recording, Bill. You guess you owe us some time. Roman Reigns has been in the title in its substantial matches for so long now. It's like time's passed by, and like I thought about the other day, the amount of main events he's been in at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about. And he was the United States champion, man.
Well, and then you go back to talking about the Shield as one of the all-time factions. Name someone else who's been in two of the biggest factions in wrestling history. The Shield and the Bloodline.
Yeah.
It's so, and who, you don't realize that this is 10 years in the making now, or whatever it's been now. It's been unbelievable. But again, this is when there's, it's that transition of, okay, we got to tell the people that this guy's going to be the guy. You got the Rusevs, and now you got Roman Reigns, and because we knew who Sheamus was, we knew who these guys were, but these are the guys coming in now, right? These are our future guys, and how do we tell the people? Well, they become United States champion.
Yep. Okay, we'll pick up the speed a little bit here. On January, so 106 days as champion here. January 9th on Monday Night Raw in 2017, there's a scenario set up where there's a 2-on-1 handicap match. Kevin Owens, who teamed with Jericho pinned Reigns to win the title. He holds it for 83 days. He loses to Kevin Owens. WrestleMania 33. Do you remember this? Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho time here. This was another time where it wasn't about the title. It's about them going at it here.
And then what follows is they become buddy, right? They're
the best friends ever, not best friends. All that's a fallout and a result around this time period. Yes.
But to your point, it's not about the championship anymore. It's
right.
Now it's just being used as a tool to introduce storylines and people.
Yep. And this is also cool because, I'll just fast forward. Chris Jericho gets the title at Payback 28 days later. This is really Chris Jericho's wrapping up here. He's going to go on to Japan. He's going to go on to AEW. So this is Jericho's last, and maybe it will be ever. I don't know about that. It's hard to ever say that with somebody like Chris Jericho in WWE. But this was Chris Jericho's, we're coming into the final run here, WWE.
And where he was doing his best work. And
I like the 2000 stuff a whole lot. I'm not going to lie. Let's kill the entrance music. Let's do all that. I thought that was actually his best work, but he was still, I'll give it to you, still very high caliber work here.
Oh yeah. And Chris elevated, he made Kevin Owens more relevant. But I think this was Chris's best work and in WWE. And again, like you said, then we see him, move on to other things, and that all blew up because of the WrestleMania stuff. So
holds the title for 2 days. It goes back to KO on SmackDown, May 2nd, 2017. 66 days. Then at WWE Live, July 7th, 2017, AJ Styles is getting in on the U.S. title picture here. He's the next champion.
New face to the WWE, but not a new face or name to the wrestling world. And how do you bring him in? Boom.
They didn't Vince. I say they. I don't think Vince McMahon and some of the people there realized how well known he was.
Yeah, isn't it funny? Here's the thing. There's a lot of people behind the scenes in the office. Like, we knew who people were. We'll go back and talk about Claudio and Tyler Black and, Moxley and all these guys. We knew who they were, but there's two people that had no idea who they were. So when everybody's going, great, they're coming in, we finally got them in, all these things, and I don't see it.
That was not the case with AJ Styles. In fact, I'm not. Okay, you're out of the company by now. Let's mention that. I don't know how much you're watching it at this point in time.
Watching it, yep.
You're watching it still.
Yep.
Obviously still love WWE, still love wrestling. So you're out of the company here, but AJ Styles at the Rumble the year prior, really, I think from all the things I've read from the dirt sheets, Vince McMahon was so surprised on how well the crowd reacted to him arriving. And I say that because let's go back to Chris Jericho. Yesterday was the anniversary of him premiering his debut in WWE in 1999, where they went absolutely bonkers for him when he came out during that Rock promo.
Right.
And had done great wrestling work in WCW, didn't get on the stage that he wanted. But again, they knew who he was when he showed up, and they knew who AJ Styles was when he showed up.
Right. And but that was always the mentality. They only know what we allow them to know. Those people,
for Jericho to get a ovation like that in 1999 in WWF is pretty cool.
Yeah,
there were a lot of really over people then,
and the buzz was, when AJ came in, everybody was ready for it. And to your point, I don't think they understood how over he was and his body of work. They learned quickly because Triple H and the cats behind the scenes, they all knew who he was and what he's done. So, it's always good to have those advocates, for you, which that's one of the things that's changed over the years is people went to bat for, not the boys going to bat for the boys, but now the office going to bat for talent,
You could say like, what if he came in earlier and all that, but his body of work beforehand that he had built, amazing.
He did it right.
Livelihood of TNA, him, Samoa Joe, Christopher, there's several of them in TNA, but his body of work there, then he went off and did a lot of work in Japan, was amazing. He was having these modern day 5-star matches before it went bonkers and everybody started getting 5 to 7-star matches.
Right. Yeah. His journey, he did it the right way. He knew what he wanted to do. He knew what he wanted to accomplish. And I think he's come out and said he knew someday he was going to be in the WWE, but he got it all done. Like you said, his body of work's been tremendous. And when he came in, it was the right time for him to come in.
It was later in his career, but he's still going, man. He's still making money.
Yeah.
He's still doing his part. He's still in storylines. And I don't see him going anywhere else really until he's done. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think because I think there's another cat who has longevity past the physicality in WWE.
One of my favorite wrestlers of all time is AJ Styles. That's because I watch a lot of wrestling, right? Not just WWE. I've got to just go ahead and say this. A bit of me really, and we've talked about this, it's going to take us down a little bit of a rabbit hole, stretch out this recording even longer. I apologize. I really wanted a Kenny Omega ending like this. Maybe not 8-10 years like AJ Styles is going to end up doing, but man, Bill, 5 years of Kenny Omega wrapping it up in WWE I was really starting to like the sound of that.
I think they really must have, and again, without knowing, right? Just an opinion, outside looking in, they really must have put a lot of money in front of him. But again, I think Kenny's that cat that it's not about the money. So hopefully the creative keeps going the way it goes for him and he's happy with that. But I'm with you. I said it when I first met him back in 04, 05. I said he was the next Chris Jericho off of seeing him in 1 hour and knew, the guy's super, super talented. He's done it all his way and it's worked out. And I'm with you. I'm one of those, I don't know how many other people who are listening to this are going to feel about that, but I'm with you. I'm one of those guys who really thought we'd get a Omega run in WWE before he, hangs it up.
Yeah. It's just looking less and less likely now.
Yeah.
You never know. Obviously Cody Rhodes made the jump.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the time would have been now for Kenny Omega.
Agreed.
He could have slid in and had some title run, etc. Done some good work for at least 5 years. I guess we'll see what happens. But I did want to bring that up with the announcement recently that the Elite had all signed extensions.
Yeah.
A little bit of me was, I'm not going to lie, I think the Young Bucks could fit in, but I just don't know how much. I do think Kenny Omega would have had a good run
Yeah, I agree with you.
And it would have been a kind of cool, but it's his career. It's up to him, right? But to me, just being a Kenny Omega fan of his matches and what I've seen, it's different, obviously. It's not for everybody, but I really think he could have had a good, not even ending, just a good later part of his career story here, making this jump.
Just a good other chapter to the journey. I'm with you. I agree. For selfish reasons, right? You want to see that happen. Like, we want to see that happen for him. But obviously he knows what works for him. And I've said this before when we talk about training. I always tell people, if you're happy doing what you're doing, nothing else can fill that. So, one, he's successful, good businessman, top of his game. But I'm with you. I wholeheartedly agree. I'll never change that opinion of, I really was hoping we would have seen a little run with the WWE before he called it quits. But you never know.
Certainly has nothing to prove, but it would have been cool.
Right. It would have been cool.
All right. So let me find where we just were. He holds the title for 16 days. I'm going to speed it up here. Kevin Owens gets it back at Battleground for 2 days. AJ Styles gets it back on SmackDown 2 days later, holds it for 75 days. Then at Hell in a Cell 2017, there's a triple threat match with Styles. Also Ty Dillinger, who is near the end of his WWE run here. You could probably remember when the 10 got over. 10. Anyway, it's going to come out with Baron Corbin being the next champion in that match between AJ Styles, Ty Dillinger, and Baron Corbin. Yeah,
and that was, so again, here's the passing of the torch, if you will, right? You take the guy, AJ Styles, his background, his everything he's done, and now we're going to raise and look at Baron Corbin now. So that obviously that all worked out.
Yeah. So this is the year, really, Baron Corbin at this point in time is getting he's been on the main roster just a little bit, but this is kind of his moment. A developmental guy, as you're aware, you worked with him, another guy that came through the system.
Yep.
Paid his dues in the system, and it's paid off to him. Obviously, he's still there working and making money today.
Yeah. Just, I won't say that. Baron, amazing guy, but came into it with that NFL background. And I always say, that's a guy.
Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah. And then the Cardinals, right? But that's a guy who's been coached his whole life. So he understood what he was there for. And from day one, he told everybody, he goes, I'm going to be the guy. And people were really turned off in the very beginning of his time in Tampa because he wasn't super cocky about it, but he let people know, I'm not here to screw around. I'm here to become the guy. And he's done everything he said he's going to do.
Yeah, I like the work he's doing on NXT now, by the way. I like his fit on NXT. Are you with me on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I was so glad to see him go back and then stay. You can't
look at it like, hey, this is developmental. It is, but you still have to have guys like Baron Corbin there.
Yeah, you have to have leaders. You have to have
New Day, Charlotte Flair. A lot of them went back and done some great stuff, man.
But I like that he's there and staying.
I think he's liking it too, from all things indicate. So congratulations. Okay, before we move on, Ty Dillinger.
Well, the guy, amazing talent, great brain for the business, can do anything with anyone. Here's the knock. If there's a knock, he could put together a great match for everybody else. The problem is I say the problem is this is my opinion as his former coach, and him and I had these discussions. Like I said, there was a few people I said that when your time's done, you're going to make an awesome coach because he knows what he's doing. Just the transition though, and it was always the thing of the believability. He's a worker and he had the great, and the people were with it. So he had the opportunity, the 10. But when all that stuff stopped and it was the physicality, he didn't have that next gear. He didn't have that aggressive thing to him to where he could keep momentum going. That was always the conversation was, you know what you're doing. You're good at it. You look the part. You put the time in. You're a great. Here's probably the worst thing that people never want to hear, and I've heard this for years. You don't want to be told you're a hell of a hand. Right? He's a hell of a hand.
Right.
He fell into and not comparing him to Brad Armstrong, but he fell into that Brad Armstrong thing. Ty was more entertaining behind the scenes and stuff, but when it came bell to bell, they always wanted to see him be that just lose control, vicious, more physical, and he was so smooth and so, technically sound that it just didn't resonate. And I feel like that's the same thing that happened in AEW. Great build-up opportunities.
Chairman, yeah.
It just doesn't resonate. Like, I don't want to say believability, but that's the only word I have for it. The believability wasn't there. So,
not a bad guy to have on your roster, though.
No, what a great guy. And I'll say it again. If he chooses, I'm not sure where he's at with AEW. He's the behind-the-scenes guy. He's got a long time left in his business. He's one of those guys, he's so good at what he does. That's how he's perceived. He wasn't perceived as an ass kicker. He wasn't perceived as acting like an a-hole. His character was never understood, I think, by everybody in the back. So I think it made it harder for him to understand. And this was his second go-round with the company, so it was even more pressure on him.
Yeah. I bring him up because I don't probably not a whole lot of other times we'll talk about him, but still floating around there on the payroll of AEW, I'm fairly certain.
Yeah.
Lost in the shuffle of the number of people they have on the roster.
Yeah. And it was one of those times when everybody was going and he got lost in the shuffle. That's exactly what it was.
You wonder, because when you carry a heavy roster, let's say you're doing house shows every day, which the AEW's not, certainly.
Right.
Working more than a day or two a week. These utility players come in handy, not only for the matches they could be in, but for the rub that they can give other people. They're good to have around. And I just wonder what that's like in AEW now, when if you're not on TV, you're not really doing anything.
Yeah, I have trouble trying to figure that out so far.
It's probably cool getting paid.
I have issue. Yeah, I have issue with that. I have issue with just getting paid.
It's cool getting paid. I'm just not sure what it does for you next.
Yeah, because those guys that left to go to AEW made it very clear it's not about getting paid. It's about being creative and doing the things you can do, and having a voice for your character and those kind of things. And so, I'm a little lost on that. I watched the show last night. And I'm just a little lost on the whole. And we'll go down that one as well. But Ty Dillinger is great, and it just never hit the way it should have hit.
We'll keep going here. 70-day title reign by Baron Corbin. Clash of Champions, December 17th, 2017. There's a triple threat match. Bobby Roode's in the picture now, which, gosh, I loved it. Another guy, when I was like, man, let me just be quiet for a minute, then I'll get to it. Baron Corbin, Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode, triple threat match. Dolph Ziggler comes out on top. 9-day title reign on SmackDown the day after Christmas in 2017. The SmackDown general manager then was Daniel Bryan. He ruled that he ruled a vacation on the title of Dolph Ziggler because he left the belt in the ring. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
So then there's a tournament, and Bobby Roode comes out as the champion on SmackDown on January 16th, 2018, defeated Jinder Mahal. We will get to Jinder Mahal, trust me. But man, when I saw Bobby Roode come over, he got into NXT. Nakamura had that match the night before WrestleMania. Or was it 2 nights before? Night before WrestleMania at the NXT pay-per-view. Just so happy. This is another guy where I was pretty big into TNA years, but TNA was doing, I don't care what anybody says, years before this, before Hogan and all them got in there, TNA was doing some good stuff, man.
Good business.
Even after Hogan and them got in there, Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, James Storm, a lot of these guys did good things in TNA around that time. And it was so awesome to see Bobby Roode, because he is great, to see him get on the WWE, spend that time on it, like almost like, hey, let's get used to the system a little bit and give back at the same time. We see that so often. Aries did it. Samoa Joe did it. Bobby Roode did it. They all did it in the system here. And I love Bobby Roode's introduction onto the NXT. I got so excited when he came out on the main roster. He gets the championship, and it's kind of like,
meh.
It's super. I don't know if many people more talented than him, honestly. But I was so happy to see him get the title here.
He was one of those guys that when his contract was up with TNA the first time, we were politicking to get him. We wanted him years before we got him because you knew what you had in Bobby Roode and James Storm. We were trying so hard, but then they re-signed, right? So now you're just watching them from the outside in. But when he came in, I'm like, here they go. Okay, it's same thing like Adam Cole fell into that, right? We waited. Okay, they did their thing. They kept building their own brand. Okay, now they're in. And then Bobby Roode gets lost in the shuffle.
Gets lost in the shuffle, and he's still lost in the shuffle always, but been out hurt. But you always wonder, what if these guys, these TNA guys, and a lot of them signed on again. It had a great last run with TNA.
Yeah.
Austin Aries, before WWE TNA run, was great. There at the end, James Storm, AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, they all, in TNA, they did a good job. Everybody bought in during that time period and said, we're going to give this one more go before we get out of here. And they did some great stuff in TNA then. I watched it all the time. And obviously TV contracts, all that after that happened, fell apart a little bit. They're still struggling from it. But man, Bobby Roode lost in the shuffle here is like, what could he have done not to get lost in the shuffle? Or is he just victim to this? What happens?
He's just,
it's not talent. It's not personality. It's not a lack of any sort of a skill set thing.
Nope. It's just, it's just not enough advocates. Not enough advocates. And the terrible thing is, it doesn't matter if everybody goes, this guy's it. Right? Pat Patterson was the biggest. Dolph Ziggler told Vince everything. Put Dolph in there. Let's get Dolph going. But Dolph had one big advocate in Pat. Everybody else knew what Dolph could do. But unless you're going to stand up and die on that hill.
Yeah.
With that talent, they don't have enough advocates. And Bobby Roode, everybody knew what he could do. When he came in, I agree. Great stuff. I thought, here we go. This kid's going to be a freaking player for a long time. And
you just missed a lot of guys, Bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
and there's
literally
no rhyme
were
or
on
reason for it.
Your exit in the 2 years that passed that, you missed working with a lot of cool. You got to work with a lot of cool people, but you got to work.
Yeah.
So it like a lot of established people that came in, and we talked about that. I think what NXT did with them.
Yeah,
you missed some cool people, man.
And they were.
I bet it would have been cool working with Bobby Roode.
They were all in the transition of getting there.
Yeah,
as I was in the transition of getting out. And so when I watched them come in, I'm like, I would have loved to have worked with this one, or, just got to know this one better and all that stuff. But still a fan. And like, I'm a Bobby Roode fan. And so I hope whatever he's going through, I know a couple surgeries now and stuff like that. But if that was the reason he's out, that'd be one thing. But they missed the mark with him big time.
Yeah. Hopefully we see another great run.
Yeah.
Definitely possible. Definitely possible. He holds the title for 54 days. Randy Orton gets the title at Fastlane. Kind of like, okay, so Randy Orton gets this title. He holds it for 28 days. He drops it to Jinder Mahal at WrestleMania 34 in that four-way match with Rusev, Bobby Roode, Mahal, and Orton. Orton and Mahal go on and do some business here. And Jinder Mahal exits the company. Yep. Him and McIntyre. You don't think much of it. And he comes back just on fire, man.
Of the two, Jinder came back on fire.
Yeah.
And I thought, the best thing you can do when you leave is to keep going. If that's what your journey is. Those two guys went out and made, reinvented themselves, their brand and what they could do, where you had to bring them back. And I thought Jinder was going straight to the top. And he went to the top of the the card and all that stuff. But all of a sudden it was like, we've got the same gender. And I think that's what the perception was in the back. But I think even with the people after, the initial thing of he's back, what was different about it? You know what I mean? What was going to be special this time? And again, gender fell to the, we've seen this. Okay, what else we got going on? So there wasn't a lot of advocates that stayed with him, in my opinion,
he goes on the independent scene. Bill didn't do a whole lot, honestly, like Drew McIntyre.
Right.
Drew McIntyre did, man.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Jinder Mahal talks about it. He hit rock bottom here. He did some small time stuff. He comes back in, and Jinder Mahal has been a champion, man. He's had the highest title in the company, and he did a pretty damn good job with it. Him and Orton had some good stuff. Yeah. I was happy to see him back. Over-accomplished really what most people thought he could.
I think the downfall of Jinder is keep pairing him up with up-and-comers. They kept, even as he was at his hottest coming in, they had someone else with, let the man stand on his own. Let him keep going and doing his thing instead of trying to give the rub to other people, because he's still finding his spot in the lane. That's just my opinion. But another talented cat who they decided, okay, this is where we're going.
This is some trickery here that they pulled. So when he wins this title becomes an exclusive to Monday Night Raw following the 2018 WWE Superstar Shakeup. He holds the title for 8 days. Jeff Hardy wins it. The title's transferred back to SmackDown on the second night, part of the 2018 WWE Superstar Shakeup. Jeff Hardy is the champion.
No, it's not on Jeff. No one cares. It's gone back. It's exclusive to this. This guy comes over. Now it's back there. So this title, we're back in that. Right, Jimmy Hart said that the wrestling world is a circle, and the circle keeps coming. And now we're back to the circle again, to where it's just another transitional thing, to where, okay, if you're a champion, you matter more, right? I firmly believe Jeff Hardy's one of those guys who doesn't need a title to be over and do his thing, but now they take it, they bring it to SmackDown, and Jeff's the guy carrying it.
90-day title reign. Shinsuke Nakamura gets the title Extreme Rules on July 15, 2018. Man, Shinsuke Nakamura, he's another guy. Went through the NXT system. I just talked about him and Bobby Roode's match, which I thought was amazing. The night before WrestleMania. I don't remember the name of that takeover. But nevertheless, Shinsuke Nakamura is a champion now. Another guy that so many amazing matches I had seen before he came.
Always the thought of, well, what can we do? How do we repack? Why do we have to repackage everyone? Why do we have to give them a different persona or a different moveset or a different, have them act differently? And that's
because you're going to get what you get with him. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much rebranding you can do with Shinsuke Nakamura. That's not a knock.
Yeah, and it just, okay, they run him. He's hot for a little bit. Then he's off. Then he's on. But we could say that about, at this time now, you can say this for the whole roster. So, but Shinsuke, another guy.
But he's in the mix up here, though. I mean, he is.
He's a player
on the main show at this point. Okay, I'll power through it here. Rusev's the next champion on December 18th, 2018 on SmackDown. 40-day title reign. Nakamura gets it back for 2 days at Royal Rumble. R-Truth wins it on SmackDown on January 29th, 2019 in Phoenix, Arizona. Holds it for 35 days. R-Truth, man, fast rewind, 6-7 years for that. He's actually in main event matches here in WWE, and he's still contributing here and still to this day.
You got to give the fans what they want. The people love R-Truth. If that means making him world champion, tag team champion, Divas champion, 24/7 champion, US champion, whatever it is, you put R-Truth in front of people because that's what they want. And he is just freaking, Ronnie's just awesome. And look how long it took him to find the thing.
Yeah.
Little Jimmy of all things, right? Just that the funny guy behind the scenes brings it out in front. And don't get me wrong, he's beloved by everyone. So R-Truth holding the title, that helped the U.S. Championship more than it helped R-Truth for sure.
It's like Udonis Haslem on the Heat. He just retired this year. I don't know how close you are to Miami Heat basketball, but this guy's way into his 40s, but we're going to pay him the veterans minimum of $3 million, which is still a hell of a lot of money a year, because he's like a player coach, man.
Right.
He doesn't even have to play.
Yeah.
This guy is so good to have on the team and so meaningful to this organization. We're going to keep paying him to be on there.
Yeah. Anywhere he goes, you can put him in front of the media in public and appearances, anything under the sun, and he's gonna produce, and he's gonna be good at it.
Important to note, though, before all this, you said find his thing and all that. He has done a lot of stuff, though, in the wrestling industry. This was just WWE.
I thought him and The Miz were great.
Yeah. You got to remember, this guy was in main event matches with John Cena.
Yeah.
Before this.
Yeah.
Let alone the work he's done before that.
When we first came into the WWF, he left because they didn't know what to do with him. So, I knew him from before and knew what he was doing. So we get there and we spent a short time together. And then he was out of the company for a little bit. But he's, the work he's done everywhere, it's just been amazing. And he's just, talented. He's a good businessman. Longevity proves it. And I think that was the one where he did more for the U.S. title than the U.S. title did for him.
Let's fast forward here. And this next guy I'm excited to talk about. On SmackDown, March 5th, 2019, there's a fatal four-way match. Rey Mysterio, Andre, which is crazy to think about. That was that long ago with him. And then Samoa Joe, and Samoa Joe comes out as the next champion. This is Samoa Joe's main roster push here.
Yep.
Massive Samoa Joe fan. Another one who's accomplished so much. He didn't even really need time in WWE, but he was so damn close so many times they could have pulled the trigger. And let's put the title on this guy. The main title. Did not happen.
I agree. Everything you said is exactly.
Who's more of a badass, walking badass than Samoa Joe besides, I don't know, Brock Lesnar maybe, but who else?
It just was he was the evolution of tough guys. He was that persona that you didn't need the grand entrance. You didn't need all these things, and just let him walk through. And I agree. There was a couple different times. Again, one of those guys that everybody knew who he was, what he was doing. Let's get him. Happy with what he's doing. Finally gets there. I'm a big fan as well. But then everything they were doing as a wrestling fan, it didn't make any sense, So
yeah, he did get hurt.
Yeah,
in his run. He did a great job on a commentator.
I thought he was great in commentary. Yeah,
I thought, man, he just might do this from now on. He's so damn good at it. Obviously, he wants to perform more. And this last week was the anniversary of the 60-man Iron Man match draw that him and Daniel Bryan had and Bryan Danielson in Ring of Honor. So amazing match, which time draw. No, Daniel Bryan held the title. One of the best matches I've ever seen. How hard is it to go an hour, Bill?
When we were training, we used to have to be able to go an hour with anyone or with multiple people, as long as the same guy was going for the hour. That's like, people don't give enough credit to the men that go out and do that. There's a lot of people that can do 60 minutes and 20 of it's on the floor. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
guy though has had a lot of amazing 60-minute matches.
Yeah, but there's a lot of guys who claim, I can do 60 minutes, and they send me the tape and look at my 60-minute match, and I hold the clock to it, and 25 minutes of it's on the floor messing with people. These guys go, and Joe's he's the evolution of what big men do. I'm a big fan.
And I'll say this: I had a brother. My brother is not into wrestling. He came over and I said, "This guy is amazing." He said, "That guy?" I said, "Dude, he's amazing. He just looks like a big old guy, right?" Then he watched him. He's like, "Holy shit, he is amazing." I'm like,
"Yeah, he moves so." And still now watching him, so graceful And I don't mean graceful like a ballerina, just grace. He's so smooth and he's still so quick and to the point. So we missed the boat.
Man.
We missed the boat.
60-minute matches. Ryan Danielson, CM Punk, Austin Aries had some good one too. Those guys could go and for 60 solid minutes.
Yeah.
Not a lot of downtime and put on a hell of a show. Samoa Joe is so underappreciated, so underrated, but yet has accomplished so much. He didn't need anything for WWE. I'm sure he got paid well. Didn't get as much as I thought he would out of the run, but
yeah,
I'm so happy to see him in the company.
Yeah. I agree. I don't think he's one of those guys. I don't think, to me, it's like AJ. They didn't need to come to WWE. I'm glad they did. I think every wrestler wants that chapter. That's just my opinion. But I think Joe didn't need to. But I'm glad to see the stuff he's doing with AEW. He's one of the guys that I do enjoy. And it's not a knock on anybody else. But you know what you're getting.
Never miss a Samoa Joe match. I will go out of my way to watch every Samoa Joe match. Every single Samoa Joe match.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off, but I do not miss a Samoa Joe match.
Yeah.
I'll put it that away.
Yeah, you get this. He doesn't vary from who he is. He doesn't change. Like, he's the consummate performer. He's Samoa Joe. He's not Samoa Joe, the good guy, Samoa Joe, the bad guy, Samoa Joe, the ha-ha, Samoa Joe, very tentative. He's Samoa Joe every time. And that's what I appreciate more than anything.
One of the best ever at what he's done, honestly.
Yeah, agreed.
So he holds the title for 74 days. Rey Mysterio wins it at Money in the Bank. Okay, let me rewind because you're going to love this. When he won that title on March 5th, 2019, the title became an exclusive to the Raw brand following the 2019 Superstars shakeup.
Again.
Completely irrelevant.
Right. But we're back.
But I had to tell you that it happened again. So Rey Mysterio only holds it for 15 days. He actually relinquished the title back to Joe because of legitimate injury that he suffered at Money in the Bank. So Samoa Joe goes on a 20-day title reign here in June of 2019. Ricochet gets the title at Stomping Grounds. Did you watch any of his stuff in Lucha Underground?
I caught, when I could, I watched Lucha Underground. I think it would have benefited him to stay that way. And we could, we'll talk about SummerSlam and all these other things later on. But this was an opportunity for this. We talked about what R-Truth did for the title. I think this was an opportunity for the title to help elevate Ricochet.
Good work as Puma, though. Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
Talented guy, for sure. Not many. I mean, athletic is all could be.
The stuff he can do is ridiculous.
This made sense, though, getting him the title, for sure. It made sense. We had to see what all he could bring to the table. So he holds it for 21 days. AJ Styles gets it back at Extreme Rules. He holds it for 134 days. Rey Mysterio comes back healthy on November 25th. 2019 on Raw, wins the title for 30 days. Andre gets the title at WWE Live a couple weeks later, and he holds it for 150 days. Another guy that I'm glad to see on TV again on Collision.
Yeah. He was injured, right?
They just weren't using him in AEW. I think it was both.
I thought he was out injured, and then they didn't use him once he got cleared or something.
A lot of talk was dirt sheets, right? Rumor in the window, but go back. Which when Vince McMahon got out, it was like, hey, I'm going to go. He's a Triple H guy. I'm going to go back. Didn't happen. He wasn't being used, I think is what happened. And Collision opens up the door for people like him, and they're not utilizing him.
Right. They're still,
hell of a talent, though, dude.
Hell of a talent.
Like, I remember over probably 15 years ago now, New Japan, he did some great stuff. I mean, that guy is hell of a talent, man. And a thick dude.
Yeah, another guy who people need to see in person to appreciate, what he really looks like.
Yeah. So 150 day, and it's crazy to think about this being 4 years ago now almost, but 150-day title reign. Apollo Crews gets the title on Raw on May 25th, 2020. We're full out COVID period here. Apollo Crews is the next champion. I know that Apollo Crews was in NXT while you were there. It may have been on your last year, if I remember probably correctly.
Yeah, he came in right at the tail end there.
And what's your experience with him? Did you like his Nigerian character that they rolled out for him a few years ago?
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I like Apollo Crews. I like who he is as a person. His athleticism's crazy. His abilities are crazy. And it's that thing, right? It's that everybody's looking for these. Sometimes I feel like we overlook for things instead of letting that person come to us and show us what they have, if that makes sense, right? Invest a little bit more time and let them come out of their shell instead of trying to force feed the issue. And I think Apollo falls into that category of them trying to force feed things and him not feeling it. And then, okay, they're not behind him.
He's another guy though, Bill, that came through the system, followed the system, and is rewarded for it.
Yep.
I mean, is there a better way to word it than that?
No,
often there is a benefit to buying into the system and not fighting it, and he's a example of that.
Yeah, the biggest example of ever coming through the system and realizing that if you fight it, you're going to lose, but if you accept it for what it is Seth Rollins. And I think we've talked about this in the past. Like Seth was on the verge of being let go because of his tank top. Because he always wrestled in a tank top. And he'd been talked to about it and told about it. And he just didn't think that was important enough because he was going to go out there and have a 5-star match every time. And the topic was, we've told you about the shirt and we're going to let you go. This is coming right from Triple H, sitting down in front of Seth Rollins. He goes, is this really where we're at? It comes back to, here's the playbook. Nobody doubts your abilities. And we're off Seth now. But all these guys, except trust the process. And the ones who trust the process are the ones that are successful, right? Because they soon figure out that once they trust the process and gain that trust, the doors are opened, a la Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, all these guys, so Apollo Crews was another guy. He trusted it. He took the lead. I still think there's a place for him on the main roster in the hierarchy of it. So
seems to be a WWE guy though. I will say that, like you just said.
Yeah.
He holds the title for 176 days. Then Bobby Lashley wins it at Payback, and he holds it for 175 days. Bobby Lashley now has made a return to the company, settled in about a year, and goes on a half a year title reign with the title.
Yeah. And again,
that guy could come back at any point in time and fit right in, couldn't he?
Yeah. It's it. Bobby's back. Okay, let's give him he's another of those guys who could just
so legitimate, man. Yeah. It's crazy to think about how long he's been around now in professional wrestling.
But the transition of a guy who's come through the system and he's learned every time he's come back, he's added more to his repertoire. He's got more ammunition. You know what I mean? So he's living proof of it.
Got to be going on 20 years now since he played WWE. So
yeah, sure. Because when I was in Louisville with Lance, when we were running Louisville, that was in 99, 2000. So he's got to be coming up on 20 years.
Yeah, I agree. Next champion here, this is interesting. Matt Riddle as they call him now. I'm not sure why their obsession with getting rid of first names are, but at Elimination Chamber on February 21st, 2021, there's a triple threat match with John Morrison, Bobby Lashley, and himself. And yeah, Riddle comes out as the next champion, man. He is another guy that spent some time in the system. Did some good stuff with Evolve. It was just a matter of time before he was brought into NXT, and it certainly happened. Everything went on par with what you would expect with Matt Riddle when he made that commitment to go to professional wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he keeps his act together, he'll have a job for a long time.
That's it. He'll have a job, but I think he's one of those guys that is he in it just to have a job, or is he in it? I feel like he can only have a job for so long that will keep him happy there. You know what I mean? And I mean that in a positive way. I don't mean it as a shot by any means.
A guy that's he did a really good job of catching on with wrestling, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the entertainment factor, but even the in-ring physicality and being safer and things like that, I think he really caught on really quick.
Yeah, a great transition from the MMA world, for sure. Okay, so he holds the title for 49 days. Sheamus gets it at WrestleMania 37, Night 2 in Tampa, Florida. Kind of a mainstay, right? Like, I don't know. I'd have to go back through here and look at how many times he's been the champion. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we've gone back to the well with Sheamus. Yeah. And this company, not only WWE title, the World Heavyweight title, whatever, United States title.
Tag
has been
team
a mainstay
titles.
On programs.
Yep. When in doubt, go to Sheamus.
Well said. We've already touched up on quite a bit.
Yeah.
Damian Priest, August 21st, 2021 at SummerSlam. He's the next champion. This is really the big title reign as far as kind of what we're doing with Austin Theory now. This is comparison with Damian Priest. He is just a couple years ahead of Austin Theory here seem to be going on the same route of things.
Yeah, I mean, Damian's been around a long time. He's made his rounds everywhere.
Another guy that went through the system. I keep saying the system, but you know what I'm saying.
But he reinvented himself again, and trusted the process. And, fast forward past the time we're talking about now, look at what he's doing now. So it's another guy who really takes advantage of opportunities and makes the most of all the opportunities given to him.
Yeah. Okay, so the next champion I'm excited about here, it's after 191 days, because he had a lengthy reign there, Priest. Finn Balor is the next champion on February 28, 2022. This is pre-faction that they're in now.
Right.
Finn Balor, man, another guy, I've been following Finn Balor for a long time before WWE. He comes in, and it appeared that he really helped. I'm trying to think of how to word it. He really helped legitimize NXT. He was a very critical part of NXT.
Yes. He took the world by storm. The Demon was over more than anything I'd seen there.
This is when NXT started. You got to watch NXT on WWE Network. Yeah. Finn Balor's there. There's some great stuff going on. And this is toward the end of your time there. It is Finn Balor helped put NXT. There's a lot of people that did, but when he came in, the stuff that he did helped put it on the map. As far as, hey, this is a program that's going to have amazing matches.
But here's a guy who's been and falls into that same category as AJ Styles and the other guys that we talked about. Been around the world, put his time in, understood the business, and understood that there's a process. But on game day, on Showtime, nobody better. And he just, the terrible thing when he got hurt, you know what I mean? And that's the big storyline now. When he got hurt, all that momentum, all that hard work, it was just put on the shelf, and not in a bad way, but you couldn't do anything. It was such a great buildup, such an introduction, all these things. Universal champion, the whole, nobody better. And you did. You had those group of guys, Finn Balor, Pac, Seth and Sammy and Owens and all these crazy, crazy cats that were there that did great stuff and really did so much for NXT. Now they're on the roster and getting to do it. And then, we get hit by the...
My brother came over for SummerSlam. I keep saying this. And he's like, what's up with that marked on his arm? I walked him through the scenario, what happened. Finn Balor couldn't have been any hotter than that happened with the shoulder. Right. That buckle bomb move. And I told my brother, I said, this is taking a lot of guys out of action. Yeah. So I don't understand. It doesn't seem, I'm like, it's got to be dangerous. You have no control over Sting, the whiplash that he got. That is a dangerous move, man.
Yeah. And
Can you walk us through why that's dangerous? I'm not a professional wrestler like you are.
So, if you understand, every time you take a bump, it's like being in a car wreck. Every time you take a bump, it's whiplash. All you're doing is conditioning your body to understand how that feels, right? But when you doing it to yourself is one thing. Once you're in the air and going backwards with someone else's momentum, you're trusting that you're going to at least be in a spot where you can sooner or later brace yourself or catch yourself. Those buckle bombs, you're going hell bent for that thing, and wherever you land, high, low, in between, that's totally on the person that's giving the move. So you have no control over that. That's one of the things you grit your teeth, and hopefully when your eyes open after the bump, you're able to continue. But that's one of the things, like, is it necessary?
It's returned quite a bit more lately. Yeah.
And because that's what happens. Once it's safe once or two times, and now we go back to use it again until someone of, I don't want to say, importance gets injured or something like that. But I will say this, going back to Finn, if you look at the Finn Balor of 7 years ago, when he had that championship, when he was the guy, he's nowhere near looks like the man he looks like now. So I think we benefit from that 7 years, because now he looks like a man who's been through the trenches, and now he's so seasoned that it's ridiculous. Because if you look at him 7 years ago, he looked like a little kid.
You think he's going anywhere, Bill? I mean, outside of WWE, do you think he's a mainstay? He's already a mainstay. Do you think his career ends in any other way now?
No, I would be shocked if he's not a lifer.
You're an NXT guy. I brought it up earlier. I want to get your opinion on it before we move on. How important was he for NXT catching fire and really becoming what it was?
An integral part. He was an integral part of it. And I think what really happened is when he actually showed up for work, when everybody got to know him, his work ethic, the kind of guy he was on a day-to-day basis. That's the beauty of NXT. You spend every day together. You really get to know people. And I think as everybody, producers, agents, coaches, other talent understood who this guy was, everybody clipped on his coattails and said, okay, let's see where you're going to take us. He was an
You always hear about how much he helped the others too when he was there.
Oh yeah. He was, wrestling's, that's the funny thing. If you're there for yourself.
He was not a developmental guy when he was there. He was in the developmental, but he was really the first one that's like, this is not a developmental guy. But what he's doing for the developmental system was so huge. And they didn't hurry it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that was where Hunter really was a genius. He didn't rush Owens. He didn't rush Sammy. He didn't rush Finn. He didn't rush Pac. We talk about Pac a different time because that's a travesty. But Hunter really knew there had to be a place and time for these guys to make it make sense, so they would last through the trial period up there in the main roster. There's certain guys who understood that, and 3 of them became the Shield, right? You had to trust it and live through the process to be what you wanted to be. So Finn Balor was an intricate part of that.
Let's power through the end here. 48-day title reign. Theory, as he's being... This is Austin Theory, Vince McMahon time period, right?
Yep.
Theory becomes a champion. He actually is champion for 75 days. Lashley gets the title at Money in the Bank 2022. 100 days. Seth freaking Rollins gets it on Raw on October 10th. 47 days. Then at Survivor Series War Games 2022, November 26th, Austin Theory wins the match. And we are still rolling with Austin Theory today. This is going back to it going on to a really good up-and-coming superstar.
Yeah, and he's my guy. I've known him since he's 9 years old. I'm super, super proud of him. I'd like to see that thing get off of him. I don't want to be
at this point in time. Yeah, but Bill, I think you got to do something when it does, though.
Yeah.
Do you pull it off of him and do nothing with him? Or I mean,
well, that's the fear now. Is if he doesn't hold that and he's not in these kind of storyline things with different guys, if they take it off of him, what happens to him now? Does he get lost in the shuffle? And he's one of the future guys in the future too. He's a future guy in this business,
you hear what I'm saying? Though Drew McIntyre was the future in Vince McMahon's eyes.
Right.
Pulled the title off of him. He admits he was to blame, but what do you do once you take titles off of people and you don't want to kill the momentum all the way?
Yeah, I'm just stuck on the US title now as theory has it. Awesome. When you see him sitting up and watching matches and the title wasn't important enough to be on the last pay-per-view and, but we're going to have a big match after the pay-per-view, with the LWO cat. I forget his name really quick.
Escobar. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like we're back in that transition again of, okay, he's holding it because we have nothing else to do with it. And we don't have a clear storyline, but I'll use the analogy again. I don't want to see that US title become a 24/7 thing, but my fear is once Theory doesn't have it, does he get the Bobby Roode treatment?
Is he a future champion?
Yes. Champion? I think he's a future. He's going to be in the picture for a long time. As long as the wrestling gods keep him healthy and he keeps his head on swivel like he is, because he's a good kid. He's a smart kid. So I think he's going to be in the picture for a long time.
Big Austin Theory fan.
Yes.
Let's wrap it up. Let's wrap up this conversation with this. 5-time champions. Let's do 5-time United States champions. Lex Luger, Ric Flair, John Cena, Chris Benoit. Who else do we have here? Bret Hart. Yeah, we have several 4 times, including, let's see here. I'm scrolling through my notes. We got Booker T, Ricky Steamboat. It was just, and there's so many different 3 times, but I guess what I'm saying is we've had this conversation now for, Bill, we started it months ago now. We've come in and out of it, but this championship's incredible, man.
It goes back to how we started it. I'm still blown away to be in that picture, to have my name on that list, long list of men that have carried this through, and the ones that I've had the privilege of watching grow in the business that are carrying it now. This championship means more than the new world championship does, for sure, because that one was just, to me, makeshift and all these things. This United States championship's been around for a long, long time. And while it's still, still ebbs and flows of when it's meaningful and when it's not, the list of men that have been on this championship is just incredible talent and some of the best storylines in wrestling from top to bottom.
How cool. It's so cool that you held the title, man. When you really think of, I would say I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've watched a lot of wrestling documentaries. This has been, I'm not trying to toot our own horns here, but this has been a really freaking cool discussion, which Bill, it's been about like 10 hours of content. Us talking about the history of this title. This body of work that we've done here is certainly something that I'm proud of in my podcast, 15 plus year podcasting career. I'm proud of this body of work we've talked about, man.
This has really been really cool. Hard to believe, like I said, that we spent so much time on it, but justifiably so. And I'm glad we did, because it was important to try to tell our, that story from our perspective. One of the things I didn't tell you is in Iowa, a guy who listens to us on the podcast, a gentleman, brought the United States Championship. It was a replica belt, and asked me to sign it. And I was like, wow, and it was the WCW replica.
Oh, cool.
So there's my daughter and my son and my wife, and I signed this thing, and I got like all nostalgic. I'm like, wow, really cool. He goes, can I take a picture? I said, sure. And he goes, no, you put the belt over your shoulder. So I had the U.S. Championship X amount of 30 years later on my shoulder, taking a picture with this cat. But it was funny because he listened to us talking about this on the podcast. And if you're listening to us now, send me a message because I'm sorry I forgot your name, but it was a great experience for me. But this has been amazing, this United States Championship conversation.
Yeah. Man, you need to get your family to listen to this, Bill. This has been a hell of a body of work we've accomplished here, man.
Oh,
this might be the greatest thing we do. How are we going to top this?
Let's see. How do you feel about Spumoni?
Well, everybody else would say the invasion, but I don't think our invasion discussion is going to top this. It's going to be
this is a good one.
We'll have some misfits. We'll have some cool things to talk about. But this in particular was something that I had planned when we first started doing it. We got the Bill Goldberg out of the way early. We knew people would like that.
Yeah.
Then for me, it was like, hey, Bill DeMott's been that had this title. Let's just do it. And I thought it'd be a 3-parter, but we've just dove so deep into it. And the wrestling history has been so rich.
Yeah.
And just to think about, I feel like we've accomplished something just by sharing the legacy of this title with people that may not have known about it.
Yeah. Well done, man. Well laid out. And I'm so glad because there's been a couple episodes where we kind of drifted and came back to it, but I'm so glad we stayed with it and you laid it out perfect. And I agree. When you lay out the history of this championship and what it meant to wrestling and certain people, really, it's going to be tough for us to top this conversation. We'll give it a shot, but it's going to be tough.
It is. And I do feel I stand by it saying these episodes have been something that every wrestling fan should listen to just to fully take in what this championship means to the history of wrestling.
Yeah.
So
really cool.
Well done, man. And congratulations again on being a part of the history of this. It's crazy to think about. You got Bill DeMott. You've got all these amazing people. I can't even list them all because I would miss people. I'm afraid to start throwing names out. But man, you're on here, man. So we've talked about before these, and I put you in a really pressured situation months ago. I said, what is your top moment? Like, what is the thing you're most proud of? We went to NXT with Triple H, starting that up, being a part of that. Now that we've had this conversation, and I'm sure it's taken you back to that moment of you winning that title, the 1-star Meltzer match that we talked about. It's taken you back to that, and hopefully you fully, and I'm hoping you can even appreciate it even more than you already did when you won it.
I do, because when we talk about these things and we talk about wrestling in the business, and it, like I tell you every time, when we're done, my mind takes me back to those times. Truly, and I said this on air live with Mean Gene, the night the locker room came out to congratulate me after winning that United States Championship was truly a highlight of my career. Like, I know a lot of people go, oh, he's saying that because he has to, and he's a mark. Well, if I wasn't a mark, I wouldn't have gotten in the business, right? I'm a mark for wrestling.
Yeah.
But it truly, one of the greatest accomplishments in my life was becoming United States champion, only because I knew who had it before me. I was never concerned about who had it after me. I was just like, holy crap. And so this conversation reminds me of Irvine, California that night when the locker room came out, and for those 5 minutes, just show that stick-to-itiveness pays off and all these things. And if you trust the process, good things happen sometimes to weird people. So it really is top 3 of things that have happened in my career. But it's really cool to think about. And again, I'm going to be laying down later, and I'm going to be thinking about all the things that happened since. And, full circle for me is Waterloo, Iowa, and having that guy bring the belt. And that reminds you, like, in a day-to-day, we forget what we've done if we've been fortunate enough to do things in this business. And that's why I'm glad you and I are here and we get to talk about it, and I get to share my perspective as you bring the topics to light for everybody. So really, really cool, man.
And good job sticking with it when the world was falling down around you in WCW. Other people were packing their bags and going home, calling it quits already, phoning it in. You, Lance Storm, Chavo, there were others.
Yeah.
But you guys stuck to it and were able to create the highlight of those shows in such what will go down as a bad time in that company history.
Right.
But congratulations to you, Lance Storm, and the others that stuck it out and provided good content on a show that didn't even appear to be at times trying.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we were as a group of men and women that took advantage of an opportunity, knowing that it wasn't going anywhere, but we took advantage of the opportunity. And thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Well, Bill, we could talk about if we want to keep going or not, but let's wrap up this episode. Let's wrap up this this episode. We'll call it an episode. So yeah, make sure you check out the podcast at BillDeMott.com. It has links to wherever you want to listen to the podcast. The videos from YouTube are up there. We get way more podcasts down. Like our YouTube does not compare to the actual podcast downloads. Yeah. I've been getting caught up on the episodes. So if you want to see us talking through it, check out the YouTube channel, subscribe to it. It's there. I'm committed. I will get full episodes up. We'll get Bill's daughter to do the clips later. It's my back pocket plan, which is a terrible person of me to do that. But seriously, though, we do appreciate it. Yeah, check out the video version. It's fun. You get to see Bill and I interact here. Heck, we've cried a few times on this podcast, honestly. Two full-grown men sitting here reminiscing on the past. We appreciate all the support. You want to contact us, we're on social media. I'm at Podcast Father. You're at Bill DeMott on everything. We've got an email, BillDeMottPod@gmail.com. Yeah, keep the interactions coming. Keep supporting the show. We're going to really got to make an effort here to try to continue to push and grow it. But I think more importantly, life does happen. But what we've been able to do is archive some stuff that will be around forever that are some good conversations about pro wrestling. And my objective all along was to highlight this to people that may not be aware, and this will be available forever.
Right on. Yeah, you're doing an amazing job. I'm honored to be a part of it, and it's a lot of fun, man. I really can't believe we've been doing this for 6 months, but if it goes like this for another 6 months, we're in the gravy, man. This is easy.
Yeah.
This is easy.
It's just like anything else. It's much easier when you're having a good time doing it.
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
And I have a great time podcasting and talking with you, man. So I appreciate it. Brother. Hey, everybody, tune in next episode. Until then, keep being you and keep being great.